Right now, your beliefs and mindsets are shaping your life and capping your potential in ways that you're not even aware of yet. And that may be exactly why you feel stuck in life and held back from reaching your full potential. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to become conscious of your limiting beliefs and how to let go of them so that you can really live the life that you truly want to live. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you a simple 5-step process to totally rewire your mindset so that you can achieve any goal, whether that goal be a lifestyle goal, a relationship goal, or a career goal. And this will be especially helpful for those of you who are your own boss and who are working for yourself. Now, in some cases, limiting beliefs are obvious, but other times limiting beliefs can just seem like regular beliefs. But whether your limiting beliefs are conscious or unconscious to you, they are really holding you back in life. And limiting beliefs can lead to things like chronic self-doubt and second guessing and imposter syndrome. And they can also cause you to play it really small. And limiting beliefs are a really common culprit for things like work avoidance and procrastination and just getting discouraged with work. They can also lead you into a dynamic where you keep repeating the same cycles of like starting a routine and then falling off the wagon, then having to start back over again. And with that, you can end up going 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, 2 steps forward and 2 steps back, going over the same territory again and again as you try to reach your goals. And it's so frustrating when your limiting beliefs discourage you from moving forward and you have to go through the same pattern again and again. Then there can be even more direct identity-based limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough or I don't deserve to succeed. And in all of these cases, the limiting beliefs are really creating a container and a limitation, an unnecessary limitation of what it is that you can achieve in your life. And so that's why it is imperative for you to be able to work through these limiting beliefs and to create a mindset that's really conducive to you achieving your goal, whatever that goal happens to be. Now, one of the things that's important to know about limiting beliefs is there are 2 different categories of limiting beliefs. And one category is identity-based limiting beliefs, and the other category is worldview-based limiting beliefs. Now, identity-based limiting beliefs are beliefs about yourself that hold you back from what it is that you want. And so in that case, it could be something like I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough, I don't deserve success, I don't deserve to achieve that goal, I'm too old to be successful, I'm too young to be successful, I'm not the type of person that does that kind of thing. Then we have worldview-based limiting beliefs, which are your limiting beliefs about reality itself and your relationship to reality. So some examples of worldview-based limiting beliefs would be like, oh, life is temporary anyway, so there's no point in doing anything. Or you could have a belief that's like, oh, well, I would love to be a guitar teacher, but there are already so many people doing that and the market is so saturated that why would anybody listen to me? Or maybe a belief like, oh, I would love to start a YouTube channel, but the golden days of YouTube were 10 years ago and I'm just too late for it. Or even something like this goal is impossible to achieve. And whether your limiting beliefs fall in the identity-based category, the worldview-based category, or both, all of those will stop you dead in your tracks and discourage you so much on your journey towards your goals. Now, we just talked about the 2 types of limiting beliefs, but there's also 2 different reasons why limiting beliefs come about. And these 2 types of limiting beliefs are unexamined limiting beliefs, which come up just because it's like what you've been told, you believed that, you never questioned it, it's a taken for granted thing. And unexamined limiting beliefs are the easiest ones to let go of. You just have to realize that you're believing something that you're taking for granted. That's the main challenge with those ones. But the other type of limiting belief is a little bit more difficult to let go of, and those are functional limiting beliefs. Functional limiting beliefs protect or serve or benefit us in some way, or at least we believe that they do. So to give a personal anecdote that's an example of an unexamined limiting belief that I was just taking for granted, and it was because I just didn't have enough information yet. So with my previous YouTube channel, The Diamond Net, I was thinking about the target audience for that YouTube channel as shadow work enthusiasts. That's what the channel is about. It's all about shadow work, inner work, that sort of thing. And I was like, oh yeah, that's like the main audience is going to be people who are actually like really interested in shadow work. But with this new channel, I realized that there's a whole different way of looking at things. And I can actually angle the videos in a direction towards people who maybe haven't heard of shadow work yet, but are really struggling with moving forward towards their goals and being able to achieve their life's purpose. And so I want to be able to find people who are maybe problem aware, but not yet solution aware. And because I just wasn't aware of that, I had an unexamined limiting belief there that I didn't even recognize was a limiting belief. So when I was able to question that limiting belief around my target audience, I was actually able to shift and to change to something that felt more aligned with the type of help that I was wanting to give. And I can actually work with both of those target audiences. And that enables me to post on the Diamond Net to other people who are really just super interested in shadow work, and to post on here for people who are really looking for solutions. Now, functional limiting beliefs, those are beliefs that are a little bit harder to let go of because they serve a function or a purpose for us. So in some way or another, that limiting belief is serving us, protecting us, or benefiting us in some way, or we believe that it is. So an example of a functional identity-based limiting belief would be like, I don't know enough yet, and so I need to keep gaining more and more and more information, and then eventually sometime off in the future, I will be ready, and then I will do what it is that I set out to do. But the function of that is actually to avoid starting, to procrastinate, and to avoid potential failure, and to try to seek more security through knowing more and more, because learning feels like productivity, but it's actually productive procrastination. So when it comes to letting go of that limiting belief, you might run into blocks, because that would mean actually starting something that maybe makes you feel a lot of fear, or makes you feel like, oh, what if I fail and that means X, Y, and Z about me? Or let's say that you have a functional worldview-based limiting belief that this goal is impossible to achieve. So with that limiting belief, it serves the function of letting yourself down before you get your hopes up to avoid disappointment. And so you end up popping your own bubble before the world can. And that often corresponds to painful early experiences around being disappointed and let down, usually by caregivers. Now, if this video feels very relevant to you so far, and you deal with limiting beliefs or other types of obstacles that keep you from achieving your goals and really pursuing your North Star, then I highly recommend checking out my free webinar, 3 Shadow Work Secrets to Get Out of Your Own Way and Reach Your Full Potential Without Having to Fight Yourself. And the link is down below in the description box. And in that webinar, I provide several solutions to really common dream killers and things that really stand in the way of people achieving their goals. And so if you want to check that out, click the link in the description box, put in your email, and you'll get immediate access to the webinar. So as I had mentioned before, unexamined limiting beliefs tend to be ones that are easy to let go once you discover them. Once you realize that it's actually a limiting belief, you can quickly let it go. So the challenge with those really have to do with gaining more knowledge and more awareness and going like, is that really true? And so unexamined limiting beliefs are mysterious but simple. But limiting beliefs are a little trickier because there can be all kinds of different functions that our beliefs serve for us. And I want to go over a few examples that you might relate to. So one of the most common functions of our limiting beliefs is that they're there to maintain our identity or our worldview. For example, let's say that I have a belief that I am an unselfish person. And I believe that that means unselfish people, they only focus on what other people want and never focus on what they want. So I'm like, okay, I can never focus on what I want. It's always about other people. And the result of that is I never create a vision or a goal for me to move forward toward. Instead, life becomes this responsive thing. It's like, okay, what is expected of me? What do I have to do? And so this prevents me from really reaching my full potential because I'm trying to stay good through being unselfish. And even the way that I'm thinking about selfishness is to maybe negate all self-focus altogether as something that's negative or bad. But if I can believe that I'm an unselfish person, and then I can show myself evidence that I'm unselfish because I keep self-sacrificing and keep focusing on other people, maybe that makes me feel like a good person. And when I feel like a good person, it gets me away from feelings of shame. And so in order for me to actually let go of that functional limiting belief of I'm an unselfish person and selfishness means all self-focus, to let go of those, I'm going to have to potentially experience the discomfort or around shame. And maybe now I don't have some kind of reason I can give myself for why I'm not bad or why I'm not shameful. And so I'd have to sit with the discomfort of, oh no, if I can't define myself that way, what does that mean about me? Or perhaps for a similar function, to keep myself good, I have a worldview-based belief that money is the root of all evil and people who have money are evil. Therefore, I have to keep myself, let's say, struggling financially in order to prove to myself that I'm not evil, because if I'm evil, then I feel shame. And so to let go of that limiting belief and to allow myself to have success, I would perhaps maybe need to get more specific about what the definition of evil is. I would have to become more comfortable having things and realizing that it isn't a corrupting force for me. Or perhaps if I've had a tendency to judge those who have money before, maybe it's like, oh no, I'm going to be on the chopping block of my own judgments and I don't want to do that. And so letting that go requires me to let go of those judgments. Or let's say that I really want to be a public speaker, but I'm trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings that might come along with the pursuit or achievement of that goal. So let's say that I'm trying to avoid feelings like embarrassment and I'm trying to avoid public embarrassment. Maybe I create different limiting beliefs for the function of stopping myself from actually engaging in that goal. So if it's the case that maybe I'm not even aware that I'm avoiding embarrassment, maybe I talk myself out of things. It's like, oh, I'd really like to start that public speaking business. Oh, but now's not the right time to do that. I should wait until the winter. Or, oh, I'd really like to start that public speaking business, but maybe my voice isn't trained up well enough yet, and so maybe I need to take some classes first. Or, oh, I'd really like to do public speaking, but I have this thing coming up and maybe I need to focus more on that thing. Or maybe I even go, oh, maybe that's an unrealistic goal. Nobody does that. And all of those limiting beliefs are there for the purpose of helping me avoid potential embarrassment that might come along with the pursuit or achievement of that public speaking goal. Limiting beliefs can also serve the function of keeping us in our comfort zone and stop us from taking bigger risks. So let's say that I realize that my career doesn't really fit with me and I would like to transition careers to be doing something else. But taking that big leap of faith is going to be very difficult. And so maybe I rationalize my way out of it and I have all of these limiting beliefs that hold me back from that. In that case, it's like maybe associated with that risk is like, what if this happens or what if that happens? And so the limiting beliefs become a protection mechanism against the negative potentials that come with taking risks. Or limiting beliefs can also keep us connected with other people in our life, and this can become quite insidious. So let's say, for example, that our family members really were only comfortable around us when we stayed small and when we were self-deprecating. And so any kind of positive feeling that we start to feel about ourselves or any sense of hope about what progression we can have off in the future comes with this feeling of like, oh no, I'm going to lose my entire support system. I'm going to lose connection with my family. Now, as promised, I'm going to be sharing with you that simple 5-step process for discovering and letting go of your limiting beliefs. But I wanted to mention that if this video is resonating with you and you're looking for help with letting go of those limiting beliefs or letting go of the friction points that hold you back from achieving your goals, I actually have a program for that. And this program helps ambitious people let go of self-sabotage, procrastination, and other blocks to being able to reach their full potential. And so if that's something that you're interested in, you can go ahead and fill out an application down below in the description box. And basically, if your application gets accepted, I'll then invite you to schedule a free one-on-one call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together. And I have a one-on-one option and a group option as well. So you have a couple of options there to choose from. So the first step in the process is to ask yourself, is that belief always true? And if it's not always true, when is it not true? And what evidence do I have that it's not always true? So let's say that I have a limiting worldview belief that, oh, anybody who is successful on YouTube started like 10 years ago and new creators just can't be successful. Then I want to ask myself, is that always true? And I'm sure if I look around, I can find examples of YouTubers who just started sometime in the past year who are super successful. And I want to gather more and more evidence that this belief isn't always true. Now, there might be some truth to that belief. Maybe it is a bit harder to get noticed on YouTube because it is just a lot more saturated. But the idea that it's impossible to become successful as a new creator just isn't true. Now, the second step in this process dovetails off of the first one with the truth theme. So again, if you're now looking for evidence that the limiting belief that you have isn't always true, think about, are there any more accurate ways to view the situation at hand and to sort of update your paradigm to reflect that new information? So if I go back to that same example of the belief that, oh, you had to start on YouTube 10 years ago to be successful and new creators just can't be successful. What I want to do is I want to start thinking critically. So if I think about YouTube as an algorithm and as a company, and as a very powerful company, and it's going to be thinking, how can I keep adapting to the current moment? How can I keep improving? How can I keep being successful as a video platform? And if that's the case, it really wouldn't make sense if YouTube didn't have any capacity for new creators to be successful. It makes sense that they would build right into the algorithm something that keeps the content on YouTube that's being served to you fresh and new. So in that way, your worldview belief can expand to be more accurate or more loyal to how reality is. Now, the third step in this process is to ask yourself, could this belief that I have be based on inexperience or a lack of information? Now, I'm going to give another example, one that I see really commonly with children in particular, but adults are also guilty of this one as well. So in this example, like a child will try something out for the first time. Like maybe they try to play the piano for the first time and they try it, it sounds terrible, and they go, oh, I'm just not good at playing the piano. I guess that just wasn't a talent of mine. And then they give up and they never go back to it. Now, of course, when we see a child do this, we go, come on, you should try again. You know, it takes some practice. But I also see adults doing the same thing. And maybe they try something 10 times or they try something 20 times and it fails every single time. And they go, oh no, I'm just not good at that. But the reality is they might need to try something 100 times to really start developing that skill. So oftentimes people will develop limiting beliefs like I can't do that based off of limited information. So it's more unexamined. Like it's like, okay, you haven't tried and failed enough to know how good or not you are at the thing. So those first 3 questions in this process are really about unexamined limiting beliefs. They're things that we believe are true, but maybe we just haven't looked deeply enough into it. And then once we figure out that, oh, that's not like 100% true, or that's not true all the time, we can let them go. But the next step within the process really has to do with our functional limiting beliefs, the ones that are a little bit more stubborn and more difficult to let go of. So the next step in the process is to ask yourself, how am I trying to protect or serve myself by believing this belief and holding on to this belief? So let's say, for example, I have another hidden limiting belief, and that's that if I am capable of something, I am responsible for doing that something. So anything I'm capable of, I have to do. So that's a limiting belief. But then let's say I have another limiting belief to cope with that limiting belief and to avoid having to take on copious amounts of responsibility that are beyond my bandwidth. And that limiting belief is that I'm not capable. Because here's the thing, if I consider myself capable and I believe that my capability obligates me to do the things that I'm capable of, then that's going to be really overwhelming to feel like a capable person. And so I'm holding on to the belief I'm not capable in order to avoid being overwhelmed and burdened by responsibility that's beyond the scope of what I want to take on. And so in that way, I am protecting myself from burden. And in order for me to let go of that belief of not being capable, I have to first actually let go of that belief that I'm required to do the things that I'm capable of. And instead, I want to shift my mindset over to I have sovereign control over what I choose to do and what I choose not to do. Now, with the question, how am I trying to protect or serve myself by continuing to believe this belief? If it's just an unexamined belief, you won't be able to find an answer, but you might want to stay with this a little bit if you can't find an answer, because sometimes it can take a little bit of effort to try to find the function. But with unexamined beliefs, they really don't have a function. They're just taken for granted. Now, if you did find an answer to the question of how you're trying to protect or serve yourself by holding on to that belief, and it is a functional belief, then you would move on to this next step in the process. So the final question in this process that you want to ask yourself, once you know what the function of your limiting belief is how can I render the function of that limiting belief obsolete? So that would mean, what do I need to change or shift in order for me to feel comfortable letting go of that limiting belief? So like in the previous example, if I have a belief that I'm required to do the things that I'm capable of doing, and I have this other compensatory, like functional belief that I'm not capable, I actually have to, in order to render the belief I'm not capable obsolete and to not need that function anymore, I have to let go of the sense that I'm obligated to do the things that I'm capable of. Or I'll give a more personal example as well. So when I was a child, I believed that good people were self-deprecating and put themselves down, and that bad people were conceited and thought really highly of themselves and were really vain. And so this caused me to develop a lot of limiting beliefs where I was like, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I'm not capable of things. And this was my way of proving to myself that I was good. And so around the time I was in like late middle school, early high school, I started to look around and I started to recognize that if somebody was really self-deprecating, it didn't necessarily make them good. In fact, I could run into self-deprecating people who were really, maybe lacking in the character department, to be nice about it. And I also encountered encountered plenty of peers that were really, really decent people who thought like well of themselves. And so for me, it was really based in that unexamined belief that good people are self-deprecating, bad people think highly of themselves. And from there, I was able to let go of those self-deprecating beliefs and actually kind of step into a more self-affirming paradigm. What enabled me to do that is that I felt like it didn't have anything to do with my level of goodness or badness. Now, another way that I could have gone about it, which would have actually been quite a lot more difficult, is actually to let go of attachment to the identity of goodness and to be able to see all parts of myself, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to accept that I'm not good, I'm not bad, I just exist as a person and I contain multitudes within myself. But that's quite challenging. But if I really wanted to resolve that at the deepest root, that would be the path that I could take. And so that's what I mean by discovering the function and then rendering that function obsolete. That's making internal changes to your paradigm, the way that you see the world, the way that you interact with the world. And when you do that, then you don't need that function anymore, or you can meet that function some other way that doesn't require you to hold on to that limiting belief. Now, letting go of limiting beliefs is one of the most important things you can do on your journey toward achieving your goal, as it lets go of like friction, resistances, and all-out blocks that prevent you from getting there. But it isn't the end-all be-all of blocks to your goal. And so if you want to learn about something that totally destroys your productive flow and holds you back from achieving your goals, I highly recommend checking out this video right here. It's something that very few people are talking about, and like it doesn't tend to be on people's radar when they think about procrastination, self-sabotage, and those other types of resistances on your journey. So I highly recommend checking that out.